Find out what's making you sick and how to heal. Anthony William is the medical medium.
Hello, I'm Anthony William, and you're listening to the Medical Medium radio show, where each week I talk about the most advanced healing information that didn't come from sources out there, misguided, misleading, misinformation. No, advanced information and secrets about health, much of which is not found anywhere else and is decades ahead of what's out there now. As I've always said, who has 10 or 20, 30 years to wait for answers, and especially when it comes down to psoriatic arthritis. I mean, that's something we want answers for, isn't it? I mean, come on. And rheumatoid arthritis. That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites not to have. I wouldn't want that, and I wouldn't want you to have it either. And if you do, we have to figure something out. This is the only show, the only health show out there where the information doesn't come from any kind of medical interest groups originally or medical funding with strings attached, old botched research that's grandfathered in by law and then just stays there forever. Medical lobbyists, internal kickbacks, money's changing hands to make sure studies go a different way and everything else. Persuaded belief systems, which is really toxic actually. Private panels of influencers that nobody knows about and think tanks that keep the ball rolling so that you think your body's destroying itself versus actually it being something else. And then health field payoffs and trendy traps, all driven by agendas. Agendas, absolutely, to keep you from knowing what's really going on, keeping you from knowing that medical science and medical research has no idea what's going on with chronic illness. And if that bothers you that I'm saying this, then you can go off on your way. You can go off on your way and go just keep on picking off all that information that's been skewed and been, and been tampered with and contaminated, that's been out there forever, that everybody keeps on passing around. You can go off and play in that merry-go-round if you'd like. But right here, we take things serious. This is the only place where the information is pure, untampered with, advanced, clean. A higher source this information comes from that I received in a gift that I received back when I was age 4, and that gift was really for everybody else. It was for me to hear a voice perfectly clear so I can bring information, and that's what I dedicated my entire life, decades and decades so far, doing to make sure that we get the right answers and we heal. And this is very important. Today's an important day because RA, it's one of my favorites. Psoriatic arthritis is also, one of my favorites to some degree. And I've dealt with that so many ways in so many places with so many people over the years coming to me, and I've in my office and over the years and whatnot. I've seen it all. And, there is things we can do for it. The most important thing we can do for it is know what the heck's going on. And I've always said, there's two things you got to know. One thing, and this came from Spirit originally, and then I said it, but it's spirits. Spirit told me that half the battle is knowing what the cause is. So knowing what's really wrong. That's half the battle. To healing. It's half the battle to healing. The other half is knowing what to do. And then this gets rid of and sheds all the misinformation and all the garbage out there and all the medical denial. I'm not talking about medical doctors. Medical doctors are amazing. I say this every show because they are. Medical doctors, surgeons are amazing. Naturopaths are amazing. Alternative, functional, they're all incredible, incredible beings. Nurses, especially. And thank God we have them, because without doctors on this planet, what would we do? There's some life-saving medicine. There's people with compassion, people that care. There's people that help in all kinds of ways. But in chronic illness, they've all been kind of left in the cold to fend for themselves, all the doctors and practitioners. They have to follow, theories like the body attacking itself with RA. Rheumatoid arthritis, so when someone has that, or psoriatic arthritis, they're actually taught or told in medical school or in alternative medical school. They're taught the body's attacking itself, that it's autoimmune. The body's actually going after itself, creating antibodies to destroy itself, autoantibodies to inflame the joints, attack the joints, and make things worse. That's what we're taught. Big, misguided, wrong theory. And I have to talk about this again. I know I probably Probably said it a couple of shows ago. But that theory came along, and you have to know this in order to heal. That's why I have to even talk about it, because if you think your body's destroying itself, if you think your body's attacking itself, it's not going to help your immune system. It's not going to help it's not going to help you heal. This isn't just mind over matter. I'm not talking about that. This isn't like, thinking positive. You think positive and and the negative falls away and you heal. No, I'm not thinking. I mean, that's good too. You want to think positive. But this isn't some mind over matter crap. No, what this is, it's true. What happens is, really true, what happens is, if you think your body's destroying itself, the immune system is not going to respond well. But when you know what's really wrong and know your body's not betraying you, your body gets reinforced. Your immune system gets reinforced. That's what I'm talking about right there. That right there. That's important to know. It's important to know. It's really, really solid. Really solid. Yeah, that's not just trying some new thing and trying to be positive and thinking positive without really knowing what your goal is. No, you know what your goal is here. You know what's going on. You know that your body's not attacking itself. See, that's something that developed. That's a theory that came about. And around the 1950s, when everybody was getting sick for the first time, women were getting sick with mystery symptoms for the first time. Just filing in with hundreds and thousands of women globally in the West and all over the country here in the U.S. and all over, everywhere. They were just filing into the doctor's offices with fatigue, aches and pains, arthritic feeling, malaise, loss of libido, confusion, brain fog, listlessness. But serious stuff. So more than just you played tennis too long, you didn't drink anything on a hot day besides alcohol, and you kind of just worn out, run down, and you need to recover for a day. I'm talking about women it was getting in the way of their lives. And so what happened was they came up with two things they came up with. They came up with it's all hormones. That was a trap. So they can sell hormones. That was a big trap at the beginning there. Because, women never had problems with the change originally. They only got increased libido, felt better, less headaches, less fatigue, more mental clarity, no brain fog, no confusion. That's what used to happen when women would actually be done with their menstruation process and they'd be going into perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. But that all changed in this one time frame. I mean, I know why. I explain it all the time. I explain it in Thyroid Healing, too. Thyroid Healing, I explained it in Medical Medium Book 1 as well. And so what happened was they came up with two things. They said it's either hormones. Well, no, they said it's hormones. And then a doctor who was interested in looking for something else, because he didn't believe it was hormones. He believed it was something else, so he went on a search. He couldn't find anything. He couldn't find pathogens or viruses or bacteria because the technology wasn't there. And he couldn't stumble across it. He just couldn't find anything. So what they found present was an antibody. So a theory, and this was the funding. The funding was going all to this antibody. And this antibody got all the acclaim. And this doctor came up with a theory. They didn't know what to do with this thing. They had no idea what it was doing. They had no idea. They came up with a theory. The theory stuck because it was funded to such a heavy degree that the investors could not go empty-handed in the end. They needed something to munch their teeth in. They couldn't accept a no, we don't know what this is. So a theory was produced. So there was an outcome with the amount of funding that occurred. Hence, polluted information, once again. The very thing this show doesn't contain ever. And so what happened was the antibody, they chalked it up to like, okay, this has definitely got to be causing the problem. It must be attacking the body. So let's just say that this is an autoimmune response and the body's being attacked by this antibody, because the reason why they went to that degree, to where that theory is, it protected the entire medical industry, because they knew not doctors, but the higher uparchy in the medical industries knew chronic illness was just at its beginning. It was just at its start, baby. It was just starting, chronic illness, and they knew where it was going to be going. So someone's back had to be covered. It had to be covered. Someone's butt had to be covered. And that butt having to be covered was, this is your body attacking itself, which put the blame on you, which put the blame on Mrs. Ferguson, which put the blame on Mrs. Jones, okay? Which put the blame on Mrs. Johnson. It put the blame on them, their bodies, attacking itself because the answers weren't there. There was no answers to what was happening with things like aches and pains, creating the labels we now have: psoriatic arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. You know, the mystery illness, mystery labels that I talk about all the time. Autoimmune is one of the greatest mistakes of all time. It still means we're in complete medical denial and nobody knows what's happening. That's what it means. That's what it means. I talk about it in thyroid healing in a way I've never talked about it before. I talk about it also just, here on the show. But that's what it means. So this is important to know, that these are still mystery illnesses. They have names, they're mystery illnesses, and you take the blame. You take the blame. And since funding only goes to genetics, that's where it's all going now. It's all going to genetics. That's where most of the funding goes now. It's all being funneled into genes. Because of that, it's going to be blamed on your genes now, still avoiding what the real problem is. See how important this is? So if you're sitting there with psoriatic arthritis, you're probably like, well, I just want it to go away. Just move on, Anthony, and give me some answers. Give me some stuff. But it's important to know, number one, your body's not attacking itself. That's a faulty theory. That's a polluted, contaminated, faulty theory. That's part of healing this condition with RA and psoriatic arthritis. That's part of healing this condition. I'm serious. That's a big deal right there. And your body's not to blame, because the minute you have psychically in the back of your brain, right in there in your consciousness, when you have it sitting in there, that crap, I have no control over this. I have no control over this whatsoever. My body's sitting there attacking itself. If you actually believe that false theory, if you believe that nonsense that was created, that turned into law and was grandfathered in, and right now, even the best alternative writers and book creators here, in the U.S. alone, still putting out information and still believe autoimmune is the body attacking itself. Doesn't matter what diet they stick out. They still believe it's the body attacking itself. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It's still polluted. It's polluted all through alternative medicine. We're the only source right here that actually knows the truth. And you think, oh, then maybe that's not right because you're the only source, so maybe they're right. Oh, yeah, what about all the people I've recovered over the decades who got their lives back with the worst fibromyalgia, with the worst multiple sclerosis, with the worst psoriatic arthritis, the worst rheumatoid arthritis, with the worst everything in that genre, and they recovered and they got their lives back. And they knew this truth early on, and it saved their lives. And I'm not just talking about some people getting a little aches and pains to go away because they went on this special autoimmune diet they saw somewhere in some literature somewhere. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about getting better, like really better. Now I'm talking about somebody that just took out cakes, cookies, and brownies and donuts out and went low carb and did a few more vegetables and maybe a couple of supplements, and they seem to improve, which I love. I love that happening, but that's not the answer, because somewhere down the line, your butt can get kicked thinking that your body's still attacking itself, especially if you're under stress or your adrenals are just flooding because you're under stress or something happens, you get triggered again, and that diet isn't enough. I've seen that 1,000 times. So I'm about getting you better and knowing the truth. So if you're up against triggers, you can fight this thing and you can actually heal because you got the armor of truth on your side. So you can't be stopped. Yeah. Can you tell I got a little bit of rest? Yeah, the last few shows in this show here, I had the deadline to that thyroid healing. That thing almost killed me. That deadline to thyroid healing of getting that thing to print and making sure that thing had the information, every bit of it from spirit, so it could be in your hands. And oh man, That thing was grueling, I got to tell you, to get that thing done. But every bit of it was worth it. And then I got a little rest. I got a couple of good night's sleeps, and I even got a nap in once in a while. And, and I still worked, but I got that in. Phew, and I got a little rest. You can see I'm coming back, eh? I'm coming back a little bit stronger. So the bottom line is, it's about knowing the truth, of course, knowing what's going on and getting better from it, being really fortified. I'm serious, being really bolstered, being really fortified here. It matters, especially when you're dealing with RA, and it matters when you're dealing with any kind of chronic illness. You go to a doctor, even with Hashimoto's, you go to a doctor, and sure, you got Hashimoto's. What does that mean? Oh, that means your body's destroying your thyroid. Yeah, Mrs. Graham, that's what it means. It means that. It means, Mrs. Johnson, it means your thyroid's, it's getting eaten up. So we're going to give you some medication, and we're going to watch it carefully. We'll do the sonograms, we'll do the ultrasounds and everything, and we'll keep an eye on it. I'm sorry, but that's great and all. I get it, but it's not enough, because it's not the body attacking the thyroid. It's not. No. Listen. For your own health, your own well-being, for the ones around you, for everybody else that you know that you might bump into with this. The antibody that was discovered in the 1950s, that was propped up as if it was God, the answer to all, is an antibody produced, one of many produced by the body. There are many of them that are not even seen because are found. Because they don't even know what they're looking for. There are antibodies produced that protect the body. Mind blown. Protect the body. Mind blown. Okay, mine was when Spirit told me that. And let me tell you why it protects the body. It doesn't go after tissue in the body. It goes after only the virus itself. It goes after the virus. The virus itself, which there is a virus with RA and psoriatic arthritis, and it's the same darn virus. But I'm going to tell you the difference of why they're a little bit different in their symptoms. But what's happening is those autoantibodies, they're going after a bug only. But when we get sick and the bug gets rampant because it's eating things it likes constantly, like heavy metals, toxic heavy metals, it's being fed constantly. Antibiotics, toxic heavy metals, plastics, petroleum, pesticides galore. How many people spray pesticides inside their house and outside their house? A friend of mine had some little sugar ants come in the house, and they were like bombing the whole house. I'd never seen anything so stupid in my life. Meanwhile, their children were going to be bathing in that spray, bathing in it. Like, oh, dear Lord, over a few sugar ants. I got to tell you something. I got to tell you something. Those are the things that get trapped up in the body, and they feed any bug that we have, and plenty of us have bugs. Plenty of us have bugs in us. It's just the way it goes down here. And so what happens is, once these bugs, they feed on stuff, and they feed on all kinds of good food, and they love eggs. They feed off of eggs, the worst food possible for RA. The worst food in creation for RA is eggs. It's terrible, terrible. Not because I don't like eggs. I know they taste good. I haven't had any since I was a kid because of Spirit, but I'll tell you this, they taste good. Yeah, put some cheese on them, make an omelet, fry them up in a pan, make an egg sandwich, throw some cheese on the egg sandwich. I don't know, toast up Thomas's English muffin and, have an egg, cheese, and a Thomas's English muffin. That doesn't taste good? That tastes good. Why do you think the vegans are all trying to recreate it with stuff? They're making all the vegan cheeses and everything else. They're trying. Why do you think all the vegan companies are trying to recreate cheese? Well, because it all tastes good. But the last thing you want to eat when you have psoriatic arthritis or RA, the last thing you want to eat is eggs, cheese, of course, wheat gluten. Now, the wheat gluten thing was that was an accident figured out. It was an accident. Someone figured out when you don't eat wheat gluten, you feel better. They don't know why. Why do you think there's that 80-year-old that's been eating it his or her whole life and doesn't even care? There's a 100-year-old eating wheat gluten 100-year-old in a assistant living facility that's, having, a cheesecake or having, chocolate cake with tons of wheat gluten in it, all kinds of gluten, with the fondant on the cake filled with all kinds of other gluten, and 100 years old and feeling pretty good because the virus wasn't there to feed off the gluten. But we have a virus culture right now. We do. Same thing, we worry about viruses in the computers. Well, we're rampant with viruses ourselves. And the Epstein-Barr leads the way. It leads the way. There's over 60 varieties, and that Epstein-Barr, which is actually a pretty friendly virus once you figure out how to crack it. Once you figure out how to crack it down, kick its butt. One way of cracking it down and kicking its butt is knowing your body isn't the cause, and it's a virus. That's the way you knock it down right there. That alone is amazing. Okay? So what happens with wheat gluten? So the so-called diet experts stumbled across, no wheat, you get inflamed, grain is bad. No, what it is it's feeding an actual pathogen, the pathogen behind these illnesses, which nobody knows till this day, still doesn't know. Why have I gotten more sarcastic in the last 5, 8, 9, 10 years? I asked that with Spirit. I said, why am I getting more sarcastic? Shouldn't I be getting less? And Spirit said, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And I'm like, well, I just figured it was my fault being this sarcastic. Spirit said, it's not your fault, Anthony. It's not your fault. It got that bad out there. And it's only getting worse. Why do you think I took you off of consultations? Spirit took me off of the very thing I love the most. Sitting in my office from 7 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, helping people day in and day out for the last 35 years. And Spirit, said, look, you can go back to that. You can sometime, but we have work to do because it got really bad out there and it's not stopping. And I said, well, how are we going to stop it? And Spirit said, well, we're going to put the information out there for other doctors and practitioners, and they can spread the word and help their patients. And we can be a happy place, and we can start breaking the actual misinformation gap and getting people help. I said, I hope so. Because as of right now, we're still the only source. I mean, I know practitioners that do take this information, and they are taking the books and they're moving forward. And then that is changing things. But still, the amount of misinformation is growing on the outside of it all worse than ever before. So even though we're battling the battle, we have to increase it. It's unbelievable. And we're doing it. So I'm hoping with the Thyroid Healing book, this is one of the final pushes. I'm still working on another book right now, but the Thyroid Healing book, one of the final pushes of getting that last big push. Then I'm going to help out some more practitioners and more doctors, and we're going to do a big, big push. We're going to be moving forward now from here on out, and we're really going to turn the tide. That's what turning the tide is. We're going to turn the tide with the right information. We're going to get people some help, and it matters. It matters greatly. So there's different kinds of Epstein-Barrs. There's different varieties, over 60 varieties. Spirit taught me that. I put the information out there. I still have some different different sources out there. I mean, different sources that don't like hearing that. So there's different professional sources experts that don't want to hear that. They want to just think there's just one variety of Epstein-Barr and everybody has it. And yeah, if you get mono, you get tired and big deal, and that's about it. That's all they want to think about right there. That's about the extent of it out there still till this day. But no, there's 60 varieties, and some of them are pains in the butts. Really, truly. You probably feel it. What happens is it's the kind of Epstein-Barr that creates psoriatic arthritis. How does it do that? Well, first of all, the RA version of Epstein-Barr, rheumatoid arthritis, the antibodies in RA that are attacking a virus, never the body. The virus is inflaming the joints and the tissue and causing problems. Okay? And so it's that virus that's doing it. Well, in the case of psoriatic arthritis, you have eczema or you have psoriasis. Now, they just say it's psoriasis for psoriatic arthritis. I've seen psoriatic arthritis with eczema really bad. There's a lot of different varieties of psoriasis, a lot of different varieties of eczema. There's over 100 varieties of psoriasis, over 100 varieties of eczema. None of them are documented. None of them are documented. One of them that's documented is called rosacea. That's an eczema. That's an eczema. It's not rosacea. It's an eczema on the face. That's not rosacea. That's a variety of eczema. I can't tell you how absurd and disturbing the whole system is with chronic illness when they can't even get one basic simple thing in order or right. How are we going to do it? Now, that's why I know over 250 million Americans are sick with something. I know why. It's not getting straight out there. So here's how it works. Okay, with psoriatic arthritis, you have the Epstein-Barr, same one that creates RA. But some people have a lot of copper inside their liver. A lot of copper in their liver. They could have gotten it from their parents who lived in a house that had copper pipes that turned everything green. They could have gotten it from other sources, copper pans. They could have gotten it from all different kinds of sources. Copper is in pesticides. People who live near farmlands, I'm talking 50 miles from farmlands, are higher in copper. All the pesticides, herbicides, rodenticides, fungicides, insecticides, all of those have, try saying that 3 times really fast. All of those have high in copper. They got mercury in them too, but they're loaded in copper. Copper, 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 copper. Fungicides on brand new towels you buy from this towel store. I don't want to name any brands. I don't need any store chain going, bananas. But you go to the towel store, the blanket store. It's loaded with fungicides, copper. It's loaded with copper. It's loaded with copper. You go to the clothes store. When you first buy new clothes, you got to wash it. It's got fungicide on it. It's loaded with copper. People put new clothes on before they even wash it, and they get a dose of copper like you couldn't believe. You buy a pair of underwear. I won't name any brands once again. Just men's underwear. You know, the kind with the different fruits on them? Or the other one that sounds like pain? But it's another word or another company. I'm not saying the brands. You buy any of them. Men's underwear. Even the fancy ones. Those are the cheaper ones. You go buy the fancier boxer shorts for men. Loaded with fungicide. Have to wash them twice. You get a copper dosage that you never even knew existed. Same with women's clothing. Definitely. Same thing. Dresses, skirts loaded with copper, underwear, women's underwear really loaded in copper. High copper in women's underwear. Okay, intimates and stuff like that. Loaded with copper. And you have to wash them 2-3 times and the copper fades away. You don't even know it. You don't even know what's there. It fades away. That's how much copper is around. And this isn't good copper. You know, one of the things I don't like is, don't take zinc. It'll get rid of your copper. Do you realize how much copper you have? Zinc won't get rid of your copper. And the right kind of zinc will never touch copper. Ever. I mean, zinc can't touch copper if it's in the body. We're so loaded in copper. Both were loaded with copper from food. Food itself has natural copper in it. If it's highest, it's the one thing all of the organic fields are ladled in is copper, even organic fields. You can't get copper out of the food. And avocado's high in copper. Everything's high in copper. Not everything, but most food. And animal protein is off the chart in copper. You can't go copper deficient. You can't. And even if a blood test says you are, the blood test is probably not even right, number one. And number two, it's not testing copper in organs. A blood test can't test for copper in organs. I repeat. And what does that copper do? Is it feeds the Epstein-Barr when it's toxic copper, when it's toxic varieties of copper from all the sources. I said the toxic sources, not the food sources, unless it's conventional produce, pesticides. Yes, that's the toxic source. That copper And what about restaurants, the copper pans and pots they're scraping the heck out of, and you're eating copper when you go out for dinner? Don't even know it. Man, that copper feeds Epstein-Barr. It creates a type of dermatoxin, an internal dermatoxin. I explain this very carefully in Thyroid Healing because nobody knows this information. But you know it now. A dermatoxin that actually surfaces to the skin, especially when it's released from a virus in joint areas. You'll get the rash, you'll get the psoriasis, you'll get the psoriasis and eczema, you'll get the psoriasis or eczema, you'll get that right there, plus the aches and pains, plus the internal inflammation, because that virus is other places too. It's all over the place in a lot of people, and that's psoriatic arthritis. That's Epstein-Barr psoriatic arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis means you don't have so much copper, or you don't have a variety of Epstein-Barr that likes copper so much. There's different varieties. There's over 60 varieties of Epstein-Barr. Science will never touch this. I don't know, 100 years from now, will they ever do it? You know why? They're not going to take $500 million and put it to this where it needs to count. They don't. Because in the end, there's dirty water somewhere about this. I'll tell you. Because in the end, the industry, deep down inside, way up there, some hierarchy in the industry knows about Epstein-Barr, and they know what's going on. And they don't want it coming out entirely. They don't. Why do you think Anthony Epstein was like, okay, your funding is cutting down. We okay, you found the bug. You found the bug in 1964. Okay, there's some studies. Okay, we got it. Okay, that's all we need to know. We don't need to know any more than that. Stop right there. Yeah. $500 million goes to genes. Blame it on your genes. Let's blame it on your genes. Breast cancer, we'll blame it on your genes. Yeah. Breast cancer is caused by Epstein-Barr, a variety of Epstein-Barr. That's what causes breast cancer. And the BRCA gene mutation, just for the record, more people don't have the BRCA gene mutation that get breast cancer than the people that do. But they're going to flip it. They're going to flip it on you because they want you to think it's genes. It's amazing. Yeah. Got to keep a light heart about it too. You know, that's what I have to do sometimes. A friend of mine said, look, you just got to keep a light heart. I go, I tell you that. I got that from Spirit a long time ago. I said, yeah, well, it's time you hear it from me. You got to keep a light heart about this stuff. So what happens with RA, rheumatoid arthritis, you got the joint swelling up, you got the different symptoms, you get the fatigue. Some people don't get the fatigue. It depends. Everybody's a little different. Some people have a little bit more mercury, which feeds Epstein-Barr, which creates a little bit more RA. RA is more mercury, a mercury-liking Epstein-Barr variety. It likes mercury more, so creates more RA without the rashes, without the psoriatic rashes, the psoriasis rashes, and so forth. But then you got that bugger. You got the bugger that loves copper, and it's a different variety of Epstein-Barr. It tends to feed on copper. Bugs like different things. They like different things. Science and research is so behind that science and research doesn't even know bugs actually eat anything. Oh, dear Lord. That's probably the one that bugs me the most. They don't even know Epstein-Barr a virus can feed off of food. They don't even know that. You should see, they got this theory of how a virus works where it can't feed off of anything. It just produces. It produces on its own. It has to be fed in order to recreate. It has to be fed. And when the virus dies, it pollutes the body because it's been feeding off of pollutants. I'm just saying, and the way the system works, I said to Spirit, I said, all right, so you want me to do more of these shows? And Spirit said, yeah, do more of these shows. And then, of course, I talked to Hayhouse and said, hey, look, I'm going to keep on doing these. I'm going to keep on doing these shows. And I talked to my, my assistants and stuff, and I said, I'm just going to keep on doing these because we have to get this information out there, even if I become a little bit more sarcastic along the way. My assistant said, oh, you've always been like that. You've always been like that. You've always had a little bit of a chip over the fact that all the truth is just tucked away and hidden away, never allowed for people to ever know. And people have to get all the lies. And then they got to, work off those lies, the leaky gut lies and all the different lies. And then they end up just, getting sucked into all the different belief systems. And it's just endless. And you've always had a chip about that. Absolutely. Because who wants to be sick for more than a day, a week, a year, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 28 years, 35 years? It's insane. So we got to break down the Epstein-Barr virus with RA, with rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis. We got to clean up. We got to remove the heavy metals. With RA, we want to remove a lot of mercury. With the liver gets filled up with mercury and other toxins and poisons. With psoriatic arthritis, we want to remove the copper and any other heavy metals, and we want to break down the viruses as well. We want to knock those both down. First things first, foods we eat. We can't feed these viruses. We can't feed them. Very important, really important to know. And by the way, I'm not going to rip apart new food belief systems. There's one out there now, and I'm not going to really, rip it apart. It's about something in food that's getting away for people. Meanwhile, it's another example of doesn't know that it's about food feeding viruses. It's not about how a food was made. For instance, like what's in a tomato. For instance, what's in a green. There's a new theory out there in alternative medicine about what you have to avoid and remove from fruits and vegetables in order to feel better. That right there is going to be another one that's going to get in people's way big time. I'm not going to hack into that right now. But here's the deal. So you want to remove foods that feed these bugs. You want to get the eggs out. You want to get the yogurt out. Yogurt will feed these bugs forever. Yogurt has to go. Kefir has to go. Goat's milk has to go. I get it. If goat's milk is all you got and you're on a farm and it's the only thing you've got to eat, then yeah, you eat it. And you got my support 100%. You won't hear me balk or cry at all. But if you have an opportunity and you're really sick with one of these things, you're dealing with RA, you're dealing with psoriatic arthritis, we got to get off the goat's milk, got to get off the kefir, any kind of dairy products, cheese, butter, got to get off of butter. Did you say grass-fed beef butter? That's different? Well, it's different in the case that it's the best butter you can buy if you're going to eat butter. But if you got psoriatic arthritis, and somebody said that, that's why I said that. If you got psoriatic arthritis and you got RA, rheumatoid arthritis, you don't want even grass-fed beef butter. It's still going to feed the virus. Yeah, it doesn't have all the crazy hormones injected into the cow. Yeah, it doesn't have all that terrible grain or GMO grain-fed, feed going into the cow all day long. Yeah, it's not trapped in its own feces in some factory somewhere in some cage. Yeah, I know that. So that's why it's the better butter. And I like that's a better butter. But it's going to feed the virus. It's going to feed the virus. I think I got too much rest after I finished that thyroid healing. I think I got too much rest. A few days of too much rest. So listen, so I'm not against the grass-fed butter. I have nothing against dairy products. They keep people alive. In the old days, they kept people alive when you had no access to food. I mean, the cow saved the family. Yeah, I know all the stories. I'm not just blind to all that. I'm not just some guy who only believes in plant-based and he's kind of, and he doesn't see all that, the past of how the dairy cow saved lives. See, I see it all with that. I'm forced to. I have no choice. I can't close my mind on anything. I can't take a belief system and close my mind. And be like, okay, that's my belief system. Spirit will kick my butt. So, so I respect dairy products. I respect a really good hard cheese. I do. I'm not kidding. I respect eggs. It's my favorite thing growing up. And, macaroni and cheese, right? Growing up. As a kid, little kid. What little kid doesn't love is macaroni and cheese? So you want to get the grass-fed cheese. You want to get the gluten-free macaroni, right? You want to get things like you want that. I mean, that's what you're going to have if you want the good stuff. If you have a child, you don't You don't want to do the really bad mac and cheese unless that's all you got access to or money for, then I support it. But here's the deal. So when it comes down to these two things, RA and psoriatic arthritis, we got to take away all the dairy products. We got to take away the eggs. We got to take away the pork. The pork won't work. The pork burdens the liver to such a degree, and the pancreas, but the liver to such a degree that it gives viruses an opportunity to proliferate. It gives viruses the opportunity to grow. So it gives Epstein-Barr an opportunity to grow and inflame more joints, producing more antibodies to try to stop the virus. But antibodies can't do that on their own. They need help from herbs, supplements, foods, and your understanding and knowing of what to do and that your body's not attacking itself. So you got to take the pork out. If you like pork and beans, you could probably leave a few beans. Sprouted lentils would probably be best to bring in. If you have to do a few black beans, I'm okay with that. Stay away from the gluten, anything gluten, right? You could do a little bit of quinoa if you really want to. And if your psoriatic arthritis isn't getting better after a few months being gluten-free and being dairy-free, we take away the grains altogether. That's fine. We can do that. It's a process for a lot of different people. Right now, some people just get better by getting rid of the chocolate cake, getting rid of whatever, the garbage, getting rid of the gluten in chocolate cake, and they start feeling better. Well, we can go further than that. We can even get better than that. We can recover. We can recover joints too. Now, joints can get so bad they can get all mangled up. I mean, you know that. I know that. I'm not delusional saying, oh, wait, all that can go away. If they get so damaged, you can at least stop the continual damage. And the body will heal a percentage of that damage so they can get use of your hands again, use of your feet and other things. So I have seen that happen. But in some people, if it gets so severe, so damaged, we have to at least stop the virus and stop the RA, stop the psoriatic arthritis to the point where we can at least stop it so it's not hurting organs, so it's not hurting connective tissue, so it's not hurting other things in the body, so we can still get a quality of life and stop with it and having it stop more joint damage. So if we stop the foods that really feed the virus, that's a really big plus. So that those foods are the gluten, like I said, corn, that's another one, canola oil, that's another one, any dairy product possible, eggs, that's another one, pork, yep, that's another one. If you do chicken, try to do the best free range, grass-fed, free range, whatever. I don't know if chickens are grass-fed. I think chickens just pick. They just pick for seeds and everything else. They can put bugs and insects and seeds and the whole bit. I mean, a chicken will find anything in the dirt. It's actually amazing. And, I mean, chickens are really smart. I mean, they can see. They can see. It's unbelievable what they can see. It doesn't look like they can see. They look blind as bats, but they can see. They can see the tiniest little insect that we couldn't even see with our eyes right there in the dirt, and they can land their beak perfectly on it and get it. But anyway, just free range chicken, sure, that's fine. You got, if you can eat other animal sources, make sure they're clean, make sure they're lean, and don't overdo them. Because the higher fat in your diet, the harder it takes to get rid of copper. The higher fat in your diet, those trendy high-fat diets, just when you think things start getting better, a whole wave of worse comes. I know, you're probably somebody that go, no, it made me feel better. Of course it did. It did. But it doesn't mean the liver's continuing to get better. The liver still gets bogged down by all that. And you might not have been that sick to begin with. A lot of people, they have some fatigue. And they have some other things going on. They have some weight gain. And they're eating so much garbage that when you clean out all that garbage and just eat lean chicken and salads, you better believe you start getting better. I'm talking about people that they can do that and not get better. I'm talking about, how about those people? You have to understand something. What happens is in the industries, if a few people get better off of something, they herald them to the rooftop shouting. When 80% or 90% of the people trying that diet or that trend doesn't get better, they keep those people quiet and they herald the 20% up there that did benefit in some way. I don't like that so much. I mean, that 80-20, is not good enough. 80% not getting better, 20% starting to feel a little bit better is not good enough. And that's what happens on the high-fat, trendy diets. You get away with all the processed food, and they start getting better. There's a whole bunch of people with real chronic illness, though, with all the different names of chronic illness that don't go all the way to better. And they try the high-fat trend that came about. I mean, I like the high-fat trend a little bit because it gets rid of all the processed foods. It gets rid of some of the garbage, and that really counts. But you want to lower the fats, bring in more fruits and vegetables, and you got to bring in fruit. Antioxidant-rich foods are fruit. Antioxidants means life is prolonged. Okay? Without antioxidants, it means nogevity. Longevity is antioxidants. Nogevity, or shortgevity, I should say, it's shortgevity. I forgot, it's shortgevity. Shortgevity is no antioxidants. So when all these people do these longevity things out there that you see, that's another trend that came through, over the years. They were getting rid of fruit. The very thing that allows you and grants you longevity, they were moving that out. It's fruit. It's the highest antioxidant sources there are. Gives you longevity. And that's the berries, the wild blueberries. The wild blueberries, especially the wild blueberries. Wild blueberries, blackberries, cherries, longevity. These are the antioxidants. It also helps in reverse damage done by Epstein-Barr-related illnesses such as psoriatic arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. It's those antioxidants in those berries, antioxidants in those fruits. Any kind of fruits that you like. I'll take any one. Apples, pears, bananas. And you want your leafy greens. You want all your leafy greens. Definitely. Leafy greens. Even citrus. Yeah, I know. Sometimes citrus flares you up, or bothers you sometimes, somebody might say. They will. They'll say, well, no, I think I get flared up from lemon water. Hey, lemon water's flushing out toxins at such a high rate that you might stir up a flare, a mild flare, but you will improve and get better later. Here's how it works. When you flush those dermatoxins that are swimming around in your bloodstream produced by an Epstein-Barr creating psoriatic arthritis, if you flush those out of your bloodstream with lemon water and out of the kidneys, it stirs the liver up. It stirs everything up. It's like a flushing agent. And you might be like, well, lemons, I don't do good. I better eat an egg this morning because I don't feel that when I eat an egg. Because an egg just goes in your stomach, it sits there, turns into glue, doesn't flush anything out, doesn't move anything, doesn't create any circulation, doesn't bring any oxygen to your blood, doesn't bring any antioxidants to you at all. And then when the egg goes down and finally gets down there, there's a feeding frenzy as it starts getting assimilated. And then it's a feeding frenzy for more viruses to feed off the egg and create more viruses, but you don't feel it right away. It can happen along the way. And then when you drink a little bit of lemon water, you may be like, I don't know, I think I felt kind of weird. I drank that lemon water. Let me go to my practitioner who told me I'm allergic to 90% of all fruits and vegetables except for beef. Let me go to that practitioner and, who said beef and eggs are okay and a couple of random vegetables are okay. And we'll go there and I'll say, oh no, that's because lemon you're allergic to. You're not allergic to lemon. I mean, unless you have an actual real allergic reaction, kind when people get stung by bees and everything, that's a different story. Or your throat swells up and you can't breathe. I mean, then you're allergic to lemon if that's the case. I'm talking about if you get a little tired from drinking lemon water or a little bit sore or you almost feel like you're getting kind of irritable from it a little bit. That's the poisons flushing out from the lemon water. This is some of the mistakes made in the industry. Yeah, I'm trying to get as much information out to you guys as possible in a short amount of time in 1 hour. So bear with me if I'm sitting there breathing heavy in the mic, trying to throw out words as fast as I can. Just had some peppermint tea just now. Couldn't get a celery juice. Oh, by the way, celery juice, really good for getting the copper out of the mineral salts combined on the copper, push it out so that when you do the heavy metal detox smoothie, a little bit of spirulina, a little bit of barley grass, a little bit of dulse, and you do the wild blueberries and the cilantro, and you got that in your heavy metal smoothie, you can bind on to those heavy metals, get them out of your system, and then the lemon water, and then flush it right out. And then the celery juice, help flush it right out, the mineral salts and celery juice. Lemons are so high in calcium, they help feed the body in different ways. Real calcium, the kind of calcium that helps us heal. So think about the lemon water. Okay, Epstein-Barr supplements. Get the thyroid healing book. Get the thyroid healing book. Consider some of those supplements. They'll say for thyroid, but thyroid Hashimoto's is actually 100% Epstein-Barr hitting the thyroid itself, getting into the thyroid. And it's Epstein-Barr in the liver too. So just make sure you look at some of those supplements that are in thyroid healing. Go to book 1. Look at some of the supplements that are in book 1 too. So make sure you take a look. You want to go, the L-lysine once again. You want to bring in some supplements, a little bit of zinc every single day. L-lysine, zinc. You want to try the lemon balm. You want to try the cat's claw. Once again, I'm using these again because I've been working with, on these radio shows, working with a lot of direct Epstein-Barr related causes. And these are some of the best supplements that you can use. And the 5-MTH, that's a good one. Okay, glutathione. Think about that one. That's a good one for people. If you're not that sensitive and you can handle some supplements where you feel like it doesn't give you a bellyache or anything else going on, you could try some alpha-lipoic acid, ALA. That's always helpful for a little bit of Epstein-Barr, so you can do a little bit of ALA. And that's okay. That one's all right. Mullein leaf. I really love mullein leaf for certain Epstein-Barr related illnesses like RA, rheumatoid arthritis. I love mullein leaf for RA. Licorice root. I do like licorice root for RA, psoriatic arthritis and RA. But I like mullein leaf, that one a lot more. I mean, I even like it a lot more for RA, psoriatic arthritis. So these are some other options. The mullein leaf is really good to consider. So you bring that one in. Vitamin C, that's an amazing one for it. Go to your practitioner, say, what can I do? Can I do a small vitamin C infusion? Maybe start out really low, maybe start out really small. You can do that. Infrared saunas, that does help out people with RA. Just don't cook yourself. Don't sit in there too long. Try 5 minutes at a time. You might be pretty sensitive and you just try a little bit of time, see how you are. Massage therapy is one of my favorite modalities of all time. I don't get enough of them. It's rare, but I want you to get a lot of them. I want you guys to get a lot of them. Massages are actually one of the greatest blessings on earth. It's one of the oldest, it is the oldest modality since the beginning of time. People say that the old modalities are like, Oriental medicine, which I really love. Things like Oriental medicine and acupuncture, I love everything. I love all the modalities. I love homeopathy. I love, nature medicine in all kinds of ways, you name it. But I'm going to tell you, the oldest isn't just, acupuncture, or isn't just Oriental medicine. The oldest modality on the face of this earth is when the first human being was able to comfort another human being by rubbing their back and their shoulder. That's the oldest modality there is. That's right there at the very beginning of time. So that's why I like massage therapy. Okay, I think we got a little grip on psoriatic arthritis, and we got a little grip on rheumatoid arthritis. And I think we got a little bit of grip on that. Remember, your body's not attacking itself. Remember, it's not genetic. And remember, it's not autoimmune. What's happening is your body's going after a virus, and we're going to help it go after a virus because we're going to go after that virus. We're going to break it down. And we're going to turn things around. Take away the foods, bring in the good foods. 16 ounces, 20 ounces of celery juice daily is a miracle for Epstein-Barr-related arthritis, like both rheumatoid and psoriatic. Okay, so always think that. Do the cucumber juices. Do salads with lettuces in there. Have a little avocado. You don't have to avoid avocado. You can have a little bit of avocado, a little bit of coconut oil if you want. You can have a little bit some nuts and seeds if you want to. Try not to overdo the nuts and seeds. And if you're a meat eater, try not to overdo the animal protein. Try to minimize it, maybe once a day. If you're plant-based or vegan, try to minimize the nuts and seeds. Keep the glutens out. Keep the grains kind of low. Keep the beans kind of low. And then take it from there. Listen, I'm honored you're here, and I'm honored you're listening, and I'm honored that, you hung in there for the show. Just know that I care, and I got your back. Spirit's got your back, and we're there for you. That's the whole point. We want to be there for you. Pick up thyroid healing. You won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed. I promise. I hope you won't. All right, bless your heart. Love you. Take care. And take 1 hour at a time. Be easy on yourself. Have some compassion. Pat yourself on the back. and know that I care. Okay, bye now. See you next time.